Being 7 o'clock, I'll call to order the meeting of the Clinton Select Board for June 1st, 2022. Happy Pride. The first order of business is public comment. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on. There are no minutes this week. Next up is Treasurer Collector John Kittredge to recommend that the Select Board award the sale of a $2.25 million general bond anticipation note to Newburyport 5 Cent Savings Bank at an interest rate of 2.16%. Mr. Kittredge, please. Thanks for coming out.
Yep, you're welcome. John Kittredge, Town Treasurer. Just here to see if there's any questions regarding the signing of the note tonight. It was projects that were authorized at town meeting, been confirmed by bond counsel, requested by DPW, which is the 2 DPW related articles, confirmed with the town accountant. We're all on board, we're ready to sign. The bids went out, got a pretty good rate for a 1-year borrowing, short-term borrowing, and we've got a, if the board will execute them tonight, you know, they want them back quickly, so by Friday morning we got to mail them back. Okay. So I'm just see if you got any questions.
Questions from the board? Yeah. What's the pleasure?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion we grant Mr. Kittredge the permission to obligation bond application.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We're now going to be continuing some public hearings that we opened earlier.
First one is a new one.
First one is a new one. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. We have a utility pole installation public hearing to correct a clearance issue at 773 and 767 Main Street. Welcome back. Could you just state your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Javier Morales, representing National Grid, 939 Southbridge Street, Worcester, Mass.
Can you explain? We'll open up testimony in favor of this. If you could just tell us what's going on.
We'd like to request the approval of a grant of a location for a new pole location, shown on the sketch that you must have. This is to correct a clearance issue for services that are feeding 2 existing houses at that location. Currently, the services are too low over the driveways, creating a safety issue.
So we're adding a pole?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
The new poles will raise the height of both services so that they are adequate height.
Okay. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor of this proposal? Yep. Just state your name and address for the record, please. Sit down if you want.
My name is Patrick McGrail. I'm the building owner at 773 Main Street, and I'm looking to have additional service brought to that 2-family house that I own. And with the way the wiring, for lack of a better word, is set up, I'm not able to do so. Through no fault of me, the current owner, for the last 15 years, or 2 owners before that, there's a cable sagging from the neighbor's house to my house over the driveway. That's always been an issue, but now I can't get the additional service in the house because of the way things are set up. From what I understand, this pole will make it right.
Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak in favor of this proposal? I'll close that portion of the hearing. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition of this proposal? I will close that portion of the hearing. Any questions from the board? Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion where there's a safety issue, okay, to grant permission to change the pole.
I'll second.
Motion made, second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you too. Thanks. Mr. Morales is still here. We're going to now reopen the poll hearing for Catherine Street for the construction of a single-family house on 128R Greeley Street in Clinton. I'm told you've spoken with the DPW superintendent. Is there an update?
Yes, we did meet on site, and we agreed on a location that will not affect anybody's driveway or use of the road. It's far enough off the edge of the road so that if anybody were to park on the shoulder of the road, there would be adequate clearance, and far enough from any driveways that any type of vehicle backing up in either direction would not be affected. I did send some photographs a few weeks ago, and I also sent them tonight to, I believe his name is Mike. I also have some photographs of the location here on my iPad, if anybody cares to look at them.
Did we get those?
But as I mentioned, I did meet with Chris McGowan,
Yep.
and he was in agreement with the location, the new location. Just to recap, this is the third visit that we've had, the third redesign.
Okay. That's a different thing. Would anybody like to see photos? Okay. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we grant the utility of the pole, change of address, actually, moving it.
Second?
Is that adequate? That motion, does that work for what we need?
Yep.
Okay. Motion made second. Any discussion?
Yes, I do. Has a building permit been issued by the inspector or by the zoning board?
He gave me a permit, but
Hold
didn't
it.
cash a check.
If someone's gonna speak, just come forward. Actually, the building inspector's here. If you mind, Mr. Salmon, do you mind?
Jim Salmon, Clinton Building Inspector, Zone, Police.
Welcome.
Mrs. Fletchkowski has applied for and was granted a building permit. And we're waiting for the poll decision to be made before I actually give it to him. He has every right to put the single-family house in that existing structure according to our zoning bylaws. He's within his right. So I don't see any stoppage here.
Okay.
So as long as the permit being issued? then-
Do you want to amend this to contingent on that, or?
Yeah, that sounds fair. As long as the permit is issued and everything is...
It has been issued.
It has been issued.
He hasn't picked it up yet. We haven't cashed the check yet until the decision on the poll was made. I wanted to make sure everything was in line.
Does that work for you?
That works.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions? Motion on the table, all's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Thank you.
Is it approved?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you for all your help. Have a nice night.
Let's see soon, I'm sure. We're now going to reopen an earth removal permit hearing for 14 Shore Lane. To recap, the Board of Selectmen received an application from Dennis Shivo to remove 600 to 800 cubic yards of material from 14 Shore Lane in Clinton for the construction of a 3-vehicle garage. This is a continuation of that public hearing held last month. He was referred to the Conservation Commission to address a complaint about his property. The Conservation Commission discussed this issue at its meeting on May 18th, and an email was sent to the Select Board members with information relative to their review, which is in our packets. Welcome back. We've heard testimony, and it's my understanding that the Conservation Commission agrees that any work done was prior to your taking over the property.
Correct.
So now I think we're just talking terms of the permits. Generally, conditions according to, am I saying, is it section 6420, Bob? We gotta fix that.
I know. It's so loud.
You brought that up a year ago.
You're right.
and
I
that
know.
was-
1 year.
6420. It just involves hours and conditions for excavation and grades and things like that. So I'm not sure if the board is familiar with this. It's standard stuff. The hours are generally 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to noon on Saturday, and no Sunday or legal holiday hours. Shall not produce noise, dust, or other effects. Not result in transportation which cause undue injury to the roadway surfaces. Finished grades shall be shown on the permitted plan. Graded to a maximum 2:1, horizontal and vertical. Laws adheres to. It's basic stuff. Do you have any estimate on how many trucks or how long you're looking to do this for?
I think I put in my in my write-up that it was gonna span between now and the fall. This has been held off a couple months now, but that's still pretty much the intent. It's not gonna be a, you know, a full-time thing by any stretch of the imagination. It's much better to do it as time allows and less disruptive to the community. But I would like to see it completed because I intend to do my landscaping this fall. It ties into this because I'm going to take loom from the back of the property, screen it on site, and use it for my, so it's kind of all tied together.
Are there any questions for the board?
Well, it's okay with the conservation.
Sure. So I'll accept the motion to approve this permit according to provisions of 6420.
How many square feet are we talking?
Square feet? 6 to 800.
60 to 800
cubic yards.
Could be yards.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion, we grant it.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to grant the permit according to provisions of 6420. Any discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Good luck.
Thank you. And thank the board for its time.
This next one up. Thanks. The owner of Country Dogs Daycare and Retail Shop would like to speak with the Select Board relative to the impact the proposed development of 500 Main Street will have on her business. To be clear, did you get my email?
I just got it.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. Not a great first step, but we're going to, please sit down. I'm doing this out of courtesy for Mr. DeVault, who I'm going to let speak first. This is going to stick to the facts. If it gets off kilter at all, we're just going to stop this discussion. I'm still not sure what jurisdiction or leverage or authority we have in this,
Yeah,
but I'm
we just
willing-
want to make sure you're aware of what's going on.
Sure.
I've got
Ed's going to go first.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to give everyone a little bit of background. I'm a little bit familiar with the situation. So this is to do with 500 Main Street and the new ownership. So I first came in contact with the new owners of 500 Main Street, the Cunninghams, a few months ago. I overheard they had an important deadline coming up. They were having difficulty getting an old mill house exemption approved by the Conservation Commission. So I had a chance to attend those meetings, and on behalf of them, I've requested that the Conservation Commission meet an extra couple times because they had a deadline pending. The Conservation Commission, to their credit, they agreed, made some progress, deadline was met. I was happy that I could help out. It was shortly after that I started fielding complaints, though, from some of the tenants at 500 Main Street who claimed that Cunninghams were not honoring their leases and that the tenants were preparing to go to court. So the short story of this is that the tenants originally had no leases under the previous owner. It was just simply, I think they call it tenancy at will. However, in order to facilitate the financing for the purchase, the Cunninghams themselves requested that the tenants get leases, to which the Colemans, the previous owners, agreed. So Triple Play, Neshoba Dance were given 2-year leases. Country Dog Daycare was given a 1-year lease. However, unfortunately, shortly after the building was sold, the message that the tenants were receiving was that the leases were no longer valid and they had to start moving their businesses out. And the businesses kind of pushed back a little bit and said that they had leases, and then as you'll hear from some of the tenants speaking, then there was some escalation steps. Services that were normally provided to the businesses, like trash removal and snow removal, were now removed. Rents tried to go up, square footage tried to be minimized, so there was a lot of back and forth. So before this ended up in court, I just wanted to take a shot, because I had a kind of pre-existing relationship with the Cunninghams. I asked if I could talk to try to see if I could work something out. So we met a few times, and we tried to see if we could meet something. Ultimately, we were not able to. But the takeaway I got, though, from talking to a lot of different people involved in this transaction is that everyone says that the new owners were very much aware of the leases when they took over the property.
Yeah, go ahead. Just hold on one second. What do you need?
Well, my name is John Hogan. Why is this being held at the board's site? This is a
I
private business, let me speak, please. This is a private.
You don't have to.
He doesn't have to speak now, Sean.
Please. Listen.
Somebody just
Hold on
doesn't
one
show up to a
second.
meeting and just start
Hold on one
talking.
second. I'm giving him 2 minutes to speak. Again, I'm not sure why we're talking about this. Please get to your point.
That's my point, sir.
Please
Okay,
get to your
well,
point.
if
What do
you
you
would
need?
stop interrupting me,
Please,
I'll get to
talk
it.
to me. Just get to your point, please. What do you need the board to do?
Okay. In a last-ditch effort to avoid going to court.
What do you need the board to do?
Sean, can you let me finish my statement, please?
Again, I just don't, there's
I'm
no one
trying
here
to
to
finish.
defend them. Like this, we have no authority here.
I'm not, so let me just get to the last part of this. Obviously, we have no legal authority to do anything here. But a project like this is gonna need the town's cooperation to get done. Our opinion about the business practices of a new building owner, the way they treat their tenants, it should matter.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman. He's way
Please,
out of line.
please, let me
He
handle
really is.
Let me handle this.
Mr. Cunningham is out.
Let me handle this.
Then do
You're
it.
out of line.
Then deal with
Do you
it.
want to stay here or not?
I want you to deal with it.
Kick him out.
You're gonna have to go if you keep your mouth shut. Please. There's a point of order here. No, I'm talking. Please wrap it up.
All right.
Just, is there a motion?
So, all I'm saying is, we can't prevent any project that's going on down there, but we certainly don't have to bend over backwards to help these people if they're gonna be treating tenants the way that they're treating them. Okay? That's all. And I hope that the board will just listen to some of this testimony here, some of these people and their complaints, and if the board feels like it's appropriate, we can write a letter to the Cunninghams asking them to honor the original leases.
I'm not sure I feel comfortable hearing complaints without someone here to defend themselves.
They can
Again,
come.
we have nothing, there's nothing for us to hold. Like, what are we talking about here? I'll give you 2 minutes. Go ahead. Name and address, please.
Karen Newsham,
Yep.
500 Main Street, owner of Country Dogs. I feel like they ran around and had us sign all these leases, and then all of a sudden, they were taking services away from us. My cleaners went to throw away the trash, and they put a lock on it, and just petty little things.
Yeah, sorry, I can't hear Petty. We're gonna have to do this when they're back.
I'm
when
looking
they're
for
here.
some
Okay.
support.
I'm really sorry.
Can I just say one
No,
thing?
no. She's on the agenda. I asked her to
We were
write
all
me back.
supposed to be on the agenda.
Yeah, they're
You
all
were supposed to
on.
be, but she didn't write me back. I asked why you want to be here.
I asked.
No, I said the triple play and
To who?
Neshoba Dance. I sent it to Phil and Mike.
Okay, I'm
And
sorry.
they said confirm that you're all on there.
Okay.
So
I'm sorry, I didn't get that part. I set the agenda. So, again, I feel very uncomfortable having this without someone here from the other side, especially, I just don't know what we're supposed to be
They're
doing.
welcome to, they knew that this day, that we were meeting this day. And I told them that I would normally move it, but this is the last day before an election. I don't know if I'm gonna be a selectman at the next meeting.
I
So
understand.
I have to like have these voices concerned now while I'm still a selectman, because apparently, I guess I'm the only one that like cares about a small business that's getting like run out of their building.
They're not getting run out of the building. Someone else bought the building, and
And they're not honoring the leases, the businesses
then
don't know
that's
any
for the
difference.
housing court to handle. Even if they weren't, I have nothing to do with lease disputes.
Sean, we're allowed to have an opinion. Like, this is America. Like, we can, like, have an opinion about something, and we have people, small businesses in our community complaining to us about something. We should at least give them an opportunity. It's not going to hurt anybody to let them say their side of it. And if the Cunninghams want to come back, if they couldn't make this meeting, they can come back to the next meeting, and they can state their side of it. You know, we're going to be doing business with these people. Some of these boards that are going to be approving some of the things that they're going to be requesting, they should know. I mean, we have an obligation to make sure that some of the people that are coming into this town are conducting business in a reasonable manner, are being fair to businesses. And I don't think that they're being fair. And I didn't go into this with I like the Cunninghams. I helped them out with the Conservation Commission. You know, like, I didn't go into this like saying that I had a problem with them. I went into this with a very open mind. This is not right. What's happening is not right.
Mr. Hogan, please address me.
There were times, most of you know I was moderator for 33 years. There were times when I was moderator, things came before the town meeting that I deferred and stopped discussion on it, and deferred them to the selectmen, or the school committee, or the planning board, or whatever board I thought was appropriate. This is one of those times where you've got a private business owner and 3 private businesses who are objecting, who are having a disagreement over a lease. And it's not something that should be discussed at the selectmen's level in any regard, and especially with one of the selectmen maligning Mr. Cunningham and saying things that are just not true. So I would ask that this discussion end before it gets out of hand and lawsuits are brought up because of what's being brought up here. one of your selectmen, and I really know who it is, has said things tonight in front of me that I know are factually incorrect. And he doesn't know the whole story. I could get into it, but it doesn't belong here, and I'm not going to. And I think I've asked you as chairman to just knock this, because the selectmen have no jurisdiction over this. And this is just ranting and raving, and I don't think it's appropriate. Sir.
Thank you. Matt?
So we had individuals who emailed Mr. Ward to be put on this agenda that you're not allowing to speak.
I said
This individual comes walking in here and begins speaking out of place. So I'm not sure what your connection to 555 Main Street is.
I was the real estate broker.
Okay.
Not even answer that for pride.
But as far as now, you don't really have any involvement with that property? Or the Cunninghams? Has that transaction?
That's not entirely true.
Okay, so I'm not sure the capacity in which this individual can speak on this. These people were on the agenda. You either get a chance to speak.
I'll give Karen 2 more minutes.
We have a bunch of emails that we can share
Put
with you.
those on the record, yep.
Yeah. Do you want to speak?
Mr. Chair.
She has the floor.
Okay. Would you be open to having us share the emails with you?
Yeah, we'll enter those in the record.
Okay, okay. We have all these people that are here in support of our business, that are clients that use our businesses, and we provide services to so many people in town. We just want your support, basically. We don't, this is our livelihood. I employ people, and they employ people, and I think it's important. The small business is what the town is built on.
Do you have a lease with them?
My lease, yes,
Okay.
I have a lease.
And they're not honoring that?
My lease is over soon, but
Okay.
they, however, have been told that they don't have leases, which
Do
is
they
not,
have leases or not?
which is not right. And
Okay.
they said they were going to put locks
Do
on
they
the
have
door.
leases or not?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
then you should be all set.
But they're being threatened. They're
Okay,
saying
then
that they're
that's
gonna-
something for your lawyers to take up with the
Right,
property
correct.
owner.
I'm just looking for your support, that's all.
Okay, well, I don't know anything about this. I would have your lawyer and have them contact the property owner. If you have a lease, I'm not a lawyer here either, but it seems like that's something for either housing court or for the lawyers to sort out over the lease terms.
I think we're already at that stage, but we're
Okay.
just looking for your support, that's all. For small businesses in town that help a lot of families, so
I would say if you have a lease, you should be in good shape.
I would think so too.
Again, I'm not a
but-
lawyer, but,
Yeah.
okay. Anything else? Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chair, I did request for all 3 businesses to get a chance. And
I'm sorry.
I don't know why why Karen is the only one that's like being
Because I
allowed to
asked,
speak.
Yeah.
that was the only one who contacted Phil.
Is
That-
Mike?
I
Mike-
personally,
Go ahead. I'll give you 2 minutes and you 2 minutes. If you're just going to say the same thing, again, if you have a lease, get a lawyer and you should be fine. This board cannot help you, just so you know. Go ahead. Go ahead, please, sir.
Mike,
State your name and
Central
address.
Play.
Again, if it gets, please.
No, all I was gonna say is the emails, you see the emails, you'll understand when you see that, that's
Uh-huh.
all. That's all I'm gonna say.
Sure.
We just want them to honor our lease, that's all, and that'll be between us and the Cunninghams. And I've tried to speak with them, and, yeah, it's not getting anywhere, so.
Okay.
Ashley Driscoll, Neshoba Valley Movement, 500 Main Street. We have attorneys at this point. I think the reason why we wanted to bring it to light today here with you guys is because, like Ed said, you're going to be working with them a lot throughout this project. And I think we all want the project to go through. We think it's going to be good for the town, but we think it's important for you to know how they behave with other people in Clinton, other business owners. And from what, okay, I'll keep it to the facts, but I just want to put that out there so that you guys understand, as part of the people that represent the town and work for the town, I think it's important for you to have an interest in small businesses that serve many tax-paying residents in Clinton. So if you would be open to reviewing emails if we send them to you, which are from both sides, so there's no lying here, it's just clearly written emails, I think that would be very appreciated.
Absolutely.
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
And just for the record, as far as us supporting small businesses, this board, in my time, has reduced the tax split, I think, from probably 15 points to make the broken tax split fairer to business owners. So I don't
Well, there
have
might not be any
indication.
businesses left.
Right, there might not be any left.
Thanks for coming. Next, you, excuse me? Yep, if you just put it on the table, Mike, okay. Next up, Phil, thank you for coming. Phil Duffy, Community and Economic Development Director, has a couple things on the agenda. Mr. Duffy.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you. I have two items. First item on the agenda is a recommendation for award for a contract for the downtown coordinator position, which we have previously discussed. You may recall, I think back in March, we put out an RFP for request for qualifications to hire somebody to run events in downtown, to work on common marketing initiatives, and to work on business recruitment to vacant storefronts in the downtown. We received 3 responses to that RFQ. Very appreciative to have received the 3. And after review, I'm recommending that we award the contract in the amount of $55,000 to run to March 1st to Lee Abdella of Shrewsbury, Massachusetts. Ms. Abdella has been involved in similar activities in Shrewsbury. She has a background in real estate and in marketing. Her references were off the charts. You will meet her soon. She's a very enthusiastic, energetic person, and I'm pleased to make this recommendation forward.
Are there any questions from the board?
Is
I
this
just
grant
have
money?
one. No, it's not.
This is ARPA money.
Yeah. I just had one. The RFP, it said January 15th, but you're saying March?
Well, we respectfully wanted to run it for a 9-month term, and so since we're a little late in awarding the contract, proposing that we move it out to March, basically to understand how well the fit is, and take it from there.
And that's agreed in the contract?
Beg pardon?
And that's agreed in the contract, or?
Yes,
with
and we
the party?
stipulated in the contract. The contract is being finalized now with Ms. Abdella, and but those are the terms that she and I have discussed.
Okay.
Any other questions? It's a pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion. Mr. Duffy's pick for the downtown coordinator that we hire.
Second that. Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? I'm going to be abstaining for this. My brother and Ms. Abdella's brother were roommates, I think, at some point.
Yeah, and I'm abstaining as well.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And 2 abstentions, 3-0-2.
Okay, thank you. Second item to bring for you is to discuss an application to the One Stop program for additional funding to continue remediation work at 172 Sterling Street. The One Stop is the state's omnibus grant portal. I'm proposing to apply to the Massachusetts Brownfields Fund for approximately $1.5 million to address contamination on the site and to effectively make it what is considered a closed site. Right now, that site, about 2/3 of it is considered closed. While there is contamination on the site, it is under an activity and use limitation, which is a legal document which rides alongside the deed, which restricts the activities that can happen on the site and makes a few stipulations as to the condition of the site. Effectively, there has to be a barrier, there has to be regular monitoring. If any work is done on site, a soils plan has to be filed with Mass DEP, things like that. 1/3 of the site, roughly 1/3 of the site is called Parcel 5. That is the parcel at the intersection of Greeley and Sterling Street. The contamination in that area was so profound that it could not be closed. So it was under what was called a temporary solution, which has to be monitored and reevaluated every 5 years. Those temporary assessments were discontinued during the property's period after demolition of the buildings. We are exempt from having to file that as a municipality, but what we were proposing to do is to close that portion of the site by removing approximately 10 inches, by removing the slabs and approximately 10 inches of material, and installing a permeable membrane and recapping it, also removing some volatile organic compounds near the tracks, and repaving that area, amending the AUL to, we're also looking to remove the debris piles, if we can with this fund. Also amend the AUL to reflect the true boundaries of the site. The existing AUL still includes the property currently owned by Dustin Whitaker, and also to include any requirements that the LSP recommends to be incorporated into the activity and use limitation, so that the parcel is then closed. At that point, it's not, for lack of a word, radioactive. I mean, actually, I guess that is a kind of connection. At that point, it is a known quantity. At that point, it becomes a more certain proposition in the marketplace. And if we can get these funds and put them to work on the site, it will improve the marketability and value of the site. And that application is due Friday.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
this is grant money, right, Mr. Duffy?
Yes, it is.
Yes. This is gonna make the property more marketable. I'm 100% in favor of doing this, so we get it on the market as soon as possible. And like you said, he's on a timeline as far as getting this grant. So I'd like to make a motion, that Mr. Duffy, get the application in for the 172 Story Street property.
Is there a second?
Yeah, second it.
Second. Any discussion? Mr. Duffy had something to
Just
add?
under discussion, Mr. Buzzino, you and I had a conversation about this previously. At that time, you had asked me if there had been any town funds in there. There may have to be some inclusion of a small amount of town funds to cover portions of the AUL that may not be covered by the Brownfields grant. I'm chiefly thinking of the fencing that would be required as part of the site. The site has to be secured. I don't think the funds are paid for fencing. That's a cost of approximately $25,000, I think. We had actually budgeted that up for. But to be perfectly clear, there may be a small infusion of town funds that would have to go along with this activity if we were to receive a grant. I just wanted to make that clear.
But the major funding is coming from grant.
Yeah.
Any other questions or discussion? And I'm around if you need me to sign something. All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
On to administrative business, the Clinton High School class of 2022. Principal Scott Cermak is requesting use of the Clinton Town Auditorium on Saturday, June 4th, 2022 to hold graduation exercises in the event of inclement weather. It looks like it's going to be fine, but as a fail-safe, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we grant permission to use the town hall, as long as they all squared away with the town hall use committee.
I'll second.
Motion made, second. Any discussion?
Yeah, will the use committee review wasn't there a limitation on number of people?
I think for municipal events,
Oh, it's
it's okay, and I think
Okay.
the weather's going to be okay, but
All right.
I will happily
They'll
burn
check
that
with
bridge when I
everybody
get
else.
there. Yep. I will keep an eye on that. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0-1. On to old and new business. Residents in the Nathan Heights neighborhood have requested a streetlight be installed at the community mailbox on Gorham Avenue at the entrance to their development. I know they had some lights put up there recently for existing poles, but apparently but there's a couple mailboxes up there. One got a light and one didn't, and so this would, since it's a new light, it has to come before us. Mike's not here, but if there's any questions, we can move this until the end. I think there's a pole, we just need to put the light on the pole.
I have no problem.
Okay?
I have a question on, just in general.
Yes.
So when these developments are proposed for the town of Clinton.
Yes.
They typically include streetlights.
Yes. This one did not. It did, and they didn't put them in.
They
So,
walked.
now this seems to be another property in
Trend.
town
Yes.
where, how is this happening?
I think this would be something for, planning board put some stuff in escrow?
Yeah.
Is that the idea?
Yeah.
And this goes back, I think, 14 or 15 years, so,
The planning board decision was, what was
right.
put in the decision, and, how was it paid for. Sometimes when the developer finishes, they have an escrow amount for anything that's comes up.
There were holes in, like, bases for the poles. Again, this goes way before my time, and much older than West Ledge. So, but yeah, I mean, it's one of the things where,
It slips through the cracks, by the way.
right, we like to make sure that if we're asking people to do things, we get them to do them while they're here, because if they're not going to come back. So,
And ultimately, the town could refuse to accept the road until
Yes.
it's
I
satisfied.
suppose so, yep. I mean, that road's long accepted, I think. Again,
Yeah,
this goes,
yeah.
I should have saved this problem.
right.
Yeah.
It just, it's,
Good to know for future.
Yes.
indeed. Because while the money's put in escrow, that's fine, but I think we saw at West Ledge,
Sometimes there's a line
bond was posted, you know,
Yeah.
and at the end, you know, I don't know what happened here, if the bond went back, or,
Right.
typically, that's usually your leverage, you know, acceptance of the street and the bond, because the
Yeah.
developer typically obviously wants the bond back. I don't know what happened here.
Nor do I.
And that's the planning board's responsibility to make sure, or is that,
Typically,
Traditionally, yep.
They drop all the bits and pieces of it.
okay.
I know the people up there have been very patient, and I appreciate that. Again, this is something that predates all of us, so we're just trying to make things right as best as possible. Again, this is the only one that is not in an existing base, so it has to come to us. Mr. McGowan handled the rest of it.
Well, maybe Mr. Deval can work with the Nathan Heights, being that he got lights up on West Ledge, if reelected.
I'm burned out. I'll try. Do my best.
Do we have a motion? Sorry, I lost track. I'll accept one if not.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that, actually, I will not make a motion just
Okay.
because I think there could be a conflict of interest.
Fair enough.
Possibly.
Well, love this.
Possibly.
Chairman, ethics team tonight.
The contractor, I think.
Okay, so that's fair, yeah.
So this is, you're entertaining a motion for the light on the community mailbox?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Okay, that's so moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 401. Okay, we have a draft host community agreement with Delivered Inc. They've previously appeared before us to do a cannabis delivery program. Mr. Gibbons, do you want to give us a little context here? They're looking for a change in our normal community impact fee.
Yeah, we have drafted the host community agreement, pretty much similar to the past host community agreements. We had in there a 3% impact fee. They've come back now and asked if they could have a 1.5% impact fee. The rationale being that they're not manufacturing, they sell, when they have goods, they're already packaged, and then they transport those goods as orders come in. So they're saying we're going to have no manufacturing, nothing's being manufactured there. There's going to be minimal traffic. So they're asking for a 1.5% impact fee. We did have one.
Yes.
Diligente, I think it
was going to be on Main Street across from
Yeah.
Hanford. Yeah.
We approved the host community agreement for them, and they came back, and the board agreed to, I think theirs was 1% the first year, 2% the second year, and 3% the third year. So, and theirs was also a similar type of a delivery establishment. So here they're asking for 1.5%, 1.5%, 1.5%. That was really a significant change to have a host community agreement.
Are those 3-year deals or 5-year deals? It's 3. Well, what does the board think about this?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to accept the requested modification to the agreement as long as it's...
I'll second the motion.
Under discussion, is this something, I know not to tip our hand too much, but I know this is something that's been talked about at the state level about these community impact fees probably going away. Is this something we want to just make standard procedure if it's going to be delivery? I mean, I don't know why it's fair for one. If another delivery person comes in, do we want to just skip this step and go right to 1.5?
Well, you want to be consistent with the last one. The last one was
1, 2, 3.
2%, 3%. This one here is 1.5.
This one's a better deal.
So it wouldn't be consistent.
Yeah.
Be a reduction from the free ones.
Well, do we want to go 1, 2, 3? Do we want to go 1.5 and then do this going forward? I don't know what. I haven't heard much from the previous applicant what their plans are, but again, that happens sometimes. So
you're talking about 1.5%. So 1.5 going forward versus 3% going forward after the third year.
It'd be a 3-year thing, yeah. So hold on 1 second.
I think what the chair was saying, if we have another delivery operator come in.
Yeah, make a precedent.
We don't have to vote on it tonight, but just for council's.
We'd be consistent. But here you're going to have 2 delivery operators who can have different impact fees. But we've got manufacturers out there with some folks have asked for accommodations, so they're not paying less than the first year. They're quite from post-community agreements.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, well, that being said, we've got a motion on the table. Stick with that.
If you want to amend it, whatever, that's fine too, whatever you think.
I'll second the original motion.
Okay. Motion made and seconded to accept the, are we accepting this or just changing the thing and we'll get it back later to accept?
You know what changes is going to 1.5%, so you don't know.
Okay. So I'll accept that motion to accept the community host agreement altered to have 1.5% instead of 3%. Motion made and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All's in favor? Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Okay. Mr. DeVault, we're looking to talk about minimum qualifications for hiring municipal positions.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing this up.
Yeah, this one should be quick. It's just a trend I've noticed. We have to start making sure that when we're hiring people, that we are following the minimum qualifications for the position. Because what I've seen happen a couple times is we have trouble with the personnel board on the starting salary. It's lower than we anticipated. It's too low for some of our applicants to consider. So what we end up doing is making exceptions to the minimum qualifications. And what I think we need to start doing is, if we cannot find any candidates that meet the minimum qualifications within the pay structure provided, we need to go back to the personnel board and request that the pay scale be adjusted so that we can get people in here that can meet the minimum qualifications that we are looking for in the first place. Because I've seen us do that in the past, where we have a minimum qualification and we have trouble finding somebody, and then we say, oh, they don't need a college degree. This will be fine. Or they don't need that certification. They don't need this certification. The years of experience, we'll cancel that, whatever. And we just have to stop doing that. Whatever we put in a job description as the bare minimum qualifications moving forward should be upheld. That's the only point that I'm trying to make.
And just to,
please.
So having reviewed several of the advertisements, over the last few years between Parks and Rec, it's a very broad set of qualifications for the positions. And I had spoke to Mr. Ward in the past, that there just seems to be, it's just too general. And I don't know, I know there was a study put together where they, this consultant created all these job descriptions, but I think it would be beneficial to review them and see, if we can narrow in on a more desirable set of qualifications for a particular job. And, maybe that will help.
Are these under us or are these other, I only see the ones that come through us. First off, I agree 1,000% that we cannot dumb these jobs down, especially if we're talking about director level or administrative, whether it's an HR director, the two we have open now, HR director or assistant town administrator. I refuse to dumb those down just to fit an arbitrary budget number, especially since I'm getting numbers that the ATA is woefully low. So, hopefully with, what's the matter?
Party downstairs.
You gotta keep the door open though. Okay, gotta keep the door open. Open meeting. Sorry. It's open meeting. It's an electoral home. I'll speak up. We cannot dumb down these jobs. Especially since I'm hearing that the assistant town administrator, the budget that we have is probably not up with the market right now. So I guess what I'm wondering is how can we codify this? And hopefully that the HR director is going to help, raise the standard for these things. Right now we're all kind of spitballing this together. So I'm hoping that A takes care of B there. But how do we codify what we all, I think, agree is what we want?
And we're actually running into this with the human resources position.
I was going to say,
It's the same issue.
So we don't have enough qualified candidates?
The compensation doesn't meet the qualifications of the job or the requirements of the job.
Can I ask where we're getting them? I'm just curious, I don't know.
Mr. Ward had just provided some feedback today on preferred candidates,
And they're saying it's not enough?
and that's,
That's early feedback.
I don't know how much I can say or how
Sure,
much.
sure,
Yeah.
yeah, we don't want to get that, yep,
Yeah.
okay.
But, yeah, to that point, like, at what, if we continue to get this feedback, what is the, again, what's the process? Do we try to go back? I mean, the fear
No,
is
we're
like,
not trying,
the
we're going to.
longer we kick the can down the road, the less people are interested, because the job search goes on and on, but
Yep.
can it be something, we go back to the personnel board and ask for the range to be re-reviewed based on the, I guess I don't know what the procedures are in place in the event that
We're
we.
still sorting that out.
And this is the problem. So now,
Yep.
and this is why I have that article, to give the town administrator discretion to place
Yeah.
the applicant within the salary scale. Because now what's gonna happen is exactly what's happened in the last 2 or 3 job searches. The initial salary is super low, and now we have people that are interested, but the salary is so low that the personnel board approved. So we have to go to a personnel board meeting, hat in hand, and beg them for 1-2 meetings that could take 1 or 2 months until we can get the salary up to something that makes sense. And half the time, the applicants walk away because they're sick of waiting for 1 or 2 months to get a reasonable salary. And so that's, we gotta go to the personnel board. That's what we have to do.
Matt?
And I think even on the classification of the positions, you know, there seems to be discrepancies in the roles, the newly created roles, and where they're placed in comparison with other roles. For example, the assistant town administrator position is several steps down the down the several categories down. And you know what that role was created for. The classification really doesn't meet the expectations of that position. So I don't, I know the personnel board has oversight on classifying positions, but there needs to be some urgency in getting these positions filled with qualified people.
Please.
Just to be on, they're trying to take the teeth out of that position because they.
Well, let's not speculate.
Do we,
I
when we,
understand, but let's not speak for the personnel board. Go ahead.
do we make the recommendation of what we feel the salary should be based on information we have, market information, and then the personnel board reviews it, or is it,
Well,
how's it been done in the past?
again, I don't want to negotiate the HR salary here, so maybe we're going to have to sort that out. How far down the road are you guys are in the search committee?
Yeah.
We were ready
Well,
to
we
move
were-
forward pretty quickly.
We've had some feedback about people not wanting to interview because of the.
Not wanting to interview. Okay.
Mhm.
Compensation, but in neither of those positions were included in the recent salary study.
Right, so it's hard to
So,
tell.
which I had the understanding that that's one of the things we were waiting on to post that job, was the study was gonna come back with the compensation.
Yeah. There is a point that I failed to make that I just would like to make. That was, the personnel board told us for months that they were waiting to do the salary compensation until they got the results of the study. And then when we looked in the study, right as clear as day, one of the sections of the study says the assistant town administrator was not included in the study. So why were we waiting for the results of that study? It's just frustrating, like 5-6 months to get a job description. Every time we have a new position, we go through this with them. I mean, something's gotta give, something has to change.
And the human resources position was listed with the ATA in the Collins Center report, and it was identified as being vacant. So that is why it wasn't included. The human resources director was the one who requested, who basically signed that contract. So I'm not really sure how that is panned out, but either way, I agree with Select Member Peruse on, do we want to do some of the legwork to try to put together a salary, or do we want, however that works, we have to be on the same page, because I feel like we already submitted a comps for the salary, which were rejected, and then we're here without any updated salary. But
Okay, I'm gonna have to get in touch with the personnel board or the personnel board chair and see when they're meeting again, because I didn't realize that things were so bad with HR, but, yeah, I agree that we can't go on like that. So, if it pleases the board, when do they usually meet?
First Monday of the
First
month, is
Monday, I
it?
Is
think.
that Monday, maybe?
Yeah, so maybe not
I
just the
can
first.
check.
Next Monday, next Monday.
Yeah.
If it pleases the board, I'll try and get to the next meeting and sort this out. I guess, do we have an ask, like, it's not good enough right now? Are we gonna give them a number, or are we going to?
Well, speaking with Mr. Ward said one of the next step would be to review the classification, class that it's in, whatever. That would provide a little bit of a range. So, you know, maybe perhaps you and Mr. Ward can attend the next meeting so we can explain.
Okay.
The next first Monday is town meeting, so I don't know when they're meeting again.
They usually meet in the afternoon.
Oh, yeah. It's
And
not on
This is
the
old and
calendar
new
yet.
business, correct?
We haven't gotten there yet, but, yeah.
Where are we at?
We're.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So,
Hold on.
so the only thing that I was just gonna,
Do you wanna finish old and new before you get? into
Sure,
this
let's
new
go for
old?
it.
Okay.
it's not that old, but go ahead.
Is there any more guidance on that one? If there's any afterward, you can please let me know.
Okay.
But I agree.
Yeah, I got confused.
I mean, I think also too, like, you keep saying the ATA, you feel like the consultant is saying it's low. So
Yes.
I guess we're thinking like, if we're getting some early feedback that
Yes.
we're gonna, like, don't want this to go on forever. We
I
really feel like this is an important position, both of them.
Okay. So just to touch base on those two things, right, community paradigm, as far as the assistant town administrator search, we are advertising there. And for HR, you guys just gave us your update, so. Other old and new?
So the one thing that we just jumped over was the town administrator.
Oh, evaluation, I'm sorry.
Evaluation, that's okay.
I'm gonna table that if that's okay, because I only
Sure.
got one back in the deadline. I appreciate you getting mine. I was hoping to do it over the weekend, so I didn't have to cram.
Sure.
So if we could bump that one, to, yeah, thanks for reminding.
Sure, so, old and new business, just in the past, recently we had talked, well, I had mentioned the personnel board, you know, the role and responsibilities, and I had just done a little bit of research into how personnel boards' tasks are kind of listed, like the job description per se. And, you know, one aspect that's very common is the board meets at times under the direction of the select board. And I just think that's something that we should consider putting in there. So to this point, you know, where we're looking to move forward and filling 2 positions, we shouldn't be waiting 4 weeks. And I'm not making a demand on anybody's time or how frequently it should be, but I think we, you know, if there's some urgency, then they're gonna have to do the best they possibly can to move this along more quickly. So I don't know how that works or whatever the case may be, but I figured however the appointments work out that are coming up, it would be something ideally to have before then, so then people know what they're getting into.
Yeah, I was wondering that myself. Those are fiscal year appointments? Sorry, Bob, I don't know why you know this. You wouldn't know this.
Personnel board?
Or just the annual appointments. That's a fiscal year thing? I guess.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll have to take a look at it. I don't know, Sean.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that would be fair if we're going to, when we do appointments, if we want to reset. That was my only thing. Like, if we're asking people to do things midstream, if we tell them ahead of time that, hey, we might need you to meet when the board has something urgent, I think that'd be more fair going into it than having to retrofit that. Okay. So I'm going to check and see when our appointments are. Any other old and new business?
Yeah, I just wanted to check on the status of the annual town report, but I don't know if
Yep, Mr. Ward's not here. The last time I spoke with him, we are on schedule. We have some bound additions that I think are required by the state, that we use a local printer, and there's some complications at the local printer. It's a small staff, but it's my understanding that
What's
what
the
we need for
schedule?
town meeting. It's hard for me to say, again, I haven't talked to him in about a week.
Okay.
So I was told it's on schedule, and I asked again this week, I haven't heard back.
Is on schedule before the town meeting?
Yes, before town meeting.
And I would just like to add to that, I really think we should look at when that annual town report is released, if it comes down to, FY '22 can be released by January 1st, then that information is a little more pertinent than.
So FY '22 is halfway done in January, just so we know.
FY '22, we're finishing right now,
Yeah.
right?
Right, so
21,
you're saying next January?
So
or
I'm
just-
saying January 1st, we should be able to get last fiscal year versus the
I just want to know which January. So if we're talking
January 2024. Okay?
No.
Wait, what year are we in?
23.
Yeah. January 2023, we would get,
2023.
Fiscal year '23 starts July 1.
Yes,
correct.
So-
The end of this month, fiscal year '22 is over. So I think what
yeah.
Mr. Copus is saying, he'd like to see the fiscal year '22 report. So the fiscal year
Before-
'22 ends June 30th of 2022. He'd like to see that in January of 2023.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes?
Thank you.
6 months after it ends, yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So then that way, at town meeting, we're gonna be receiving FY '21's report. This town meeting, potentially this town meeting, we're getting FY '21.
Couple years, man.
Mhm.
It is behind.
Well, I mean, I think that's just a normal schedule, right?
Yeah.
That's a normal schedule. That's how we've, that's the normal schedule.
We're saying, can the normal schedule be updated and expedited? Yeah.
January for the previous, so then that way,
Yeah, we're not behind, it's just how it's the schedule. But I think you want to expedite the
Like-
schedule by at least 6 months.
yeah, so you can.
So we're saying that as of, the year will end July 1st, and it'll be 11 months before we see the final report, typically, based on the current timeline,
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna get FY '21
right before we
potentially this
go.
week.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I get you. All right.
Right. She's correct, Julie's correct.
Okay. So what we can do, that can be one of our goals for the summer, is to reset that.
Well, I think it also is a bylaw, if I'm not mistaken. Is that a bylaw for,
I don't know if there's a deadline of bylaw.
or I think the information is due by a certain date. I could be wrong, but I think there is something in there.
I know there's a bylaw, I don't know what it says.
Yeah, I don't know how long, we'd have to check with the accountant, how long they typically close,
Right.
fiscal year ends June 30th, but I don't know how long before they actually
Yeah.
really close the books. I don't know the
Yeah.
answer to that.
Right, because I think we're gonna be doing unpaid bills probably at our next meeting. Maybe. All right, what's something we can talk about, Michael's here. I don't think that's unreasonable, and if we have to, again, I just don't want incomplete information going out, but if we can hustle and do this, I don't see any reason why. I'd like to see why we can't. So thanks for bringing that up. Any other old new business? Hearing none, committee reports. Okay, that is the end of our agenda. We will be exiting open session to enter executive session under Article 3 of the Open Meeting Law to discuss union collective bargaining.
Mr. Chair,
yes.
sorry to interrupt, but with Michael not being, I haven't had I know Michael has, I don't know the exact schedule, but I don't think these negotiations have been scheduled now for later in June. I would ask that we put this off until the next meeting, which is June 15th. I haven't had a chance to talk to Michael, so I don't know if he gave you information to review, but.
How do you feel about this?
There's just one thing that I'd like to discuss that, with the members regarding collective bargaining, just a general, not anything specific to any particular union.
Okay, that's fine with me.
I think we'll only take a minute or two.
Great, I think it's, yeah, I understand what you're saying. That being said, we will not enter open session again other than to adjourn. Our next meeting is June 15th. Town meeting is Monday, June 6th at 7 p.m. in Town Hall. All registered voters are welcome. And town elections are Monday, June 13th from, 8 a.m., 7 to 7?
7 to 8.
No, it's 7 though. It's 8 in Lancaster. I think it closes.
Close at 8.
Hold on.
8 to 8 then?
7 to 8.
7 to 8.
7 to
Why,
8.
I get no idea. But
13
7 to 8.
hours.
13 hours to come out and vote. Please do so. Otherwise, we'll see you again on June 15th. And we'll do a roll call to enter executive session. Ed? Aye. Matt?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
The chair is aye. Thank you and good night.